hulked up.
Yeah. So that's how we're going to start this episode.
I just looked and saw the recording. All right. Hey, welcome to Action Activate-ish.
Random Activate. Action Random. We just recorded this week's episode of Action Activate, the Power Rangers review show. And every week, most weeks, we talk before or after the episode about toys, TV shows, movies, random nerdy stuff that we just want to catch up on as buddies. And I said, why don't we record it and see if people are interested? Because if they are, we could record this and it wouldn't be much bother to have another thing up,
Yep.
So that's what this is. There's no format. We don't have notes. We haven't talked about it. We're just going to talk and see what happens.
Yeah. Running title is Ranting Reactivate.
Ranting Reactivate. Sounds like Scooby-Doo saying.
I just like the RRs.
Ranting Reactivate. So, okay. Well, I'll touch on the thing I started the last episode with, which is my Gokai Changer.
Yep.
This is the new one. This is the Memorial Edition one that I just
anniversary.
got.
Yeah.
I'm happy I have it. There are things that I like about it and things that are disappointing. It comes with the main team, not silver, which is kind of annoying. And they have the one flip button, which is cool, but the other ones don't. So it's this, and they had previously made some with like a big button that was easier to press, but didn't look good. So now that I've practiced, it's actually a little easier. There are a ton of songs in here that weren't in the original. I have both the originals. This is the third version.
Don't do any songs on here, by the way.
I understand. I watched Bruno's thing.
I was about to say, yep.
Yeah. And there's so if you've watched MMPR Toys, they review it. I'm not giving it a review, but I'm trying to put it in the stand with one hand. But what I hoped would happen was I have the first release and the second release, and they have different functionality. They actually aesthetically looked a little bit different, but the main thing is and so I was like, well, if I want to get all the sounds from all the keys, I need them both. And I was hoping this one would be like, we could do it all. They didn't advertise it as such, but that's what I hoped. And it can't. There are things they could do that this one can't, that I know that for sure. And on top of that, I thought at the very least, it would be able to call out the keys of seasons past Go Busters, which the previous ones couldn't, and even though they've released keys for those. And when I was playing with it, there's a mode you could put in the numbers and each team name will be said. And it said all the teams up to the current season. So I'm like, great. And then I watched Bruno's review on MMPR Toys, and he's like, oh, the keys don't work. And I'm like, why would you have the sound in it? Now, all hope is not lost, because they did release two other new key sets, both with the flip action, I believe. One is all the reds, which I didn't get because I have all of those, and just for the flip action, I don't need it. And the other, I forget what they called it, but it's like a set of and I have like a third to a half of them, so I hated buying it. Again, they have the flip action, but I don't care that much about it.
Yeah.
But it had all newer season characters up to the current season. So my hope is the new versions of the new seasons, maybe they work in it because they've gotten a new key forged. I don't have it yet. I don't think anyone has it yet, so I don't know. But that being said, as of now, I'm going to keep all three of these. So that's my first toy thing, which I think is a good segue for any of our Action Activate viewers. That's like right on brand, but we're going to go from there probably.
Nothing there for me. I've been getting into model kits again, so I'm going to start building those. Mostly, so right now I'm watching a Gundam series called Iron-Blooded Orphans with one of my buddies. We have pretty much agreed to watch an anime through Discord, but not quickly. So we'll be talking late at night, and then one of us will be like, hey, do you want to not play games and watch an episode if we can stay awake? And it's like, okay. So on a good day, we get through 2. On a bad day, we get through half. And on a normal day, we get through 1. So I have Iron-Blooded Orphan kits, though. So my goal is to build a good number of them before we're done with the series, which should help. The only problem is,
while you're watching it?
Here's what I was going to get to. The problem is we watch it subbed, so I can't.
Yeah.
So I have to do that during other stuff, which is fine. I can do that when I'm watching The Bachelor with my wife or something. But I just need to sit down and bust open that first kit again.
Are you caught up on Boba Fett?
Nope. I'm 1 episode behind.
All right. I will not talk about that. Did you have the same disappointment with episode 3 that a lot of people seem to have?
By that you mean
spoilers for episode 3 of Boba Fett. Go ahead.
Yeah. You mean the knockoff Teenagers with Attitude and Space Vespas?
There was a lot of comparisons to Time Force and Zeo and things like that on their cycles. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it is the most glaring non-Star Wars thing we've gotten.
Hmm.
Which is like honestly the only real problem I have with it is the speeders themselves. Other
Yeah.
than that, the concept of those people are fine.
Oh, I don't think anybody has a problem with the cyborg gang joining him. Really, the speeders. The way I look at it, it didn't ruin the show for me. Like some people are like, this is it all. They're I think the speeders being the bright colors on this dusty planet belonging to like these poor kids is a bit of a stretch, but it's not impossible because we've all seen the trope of like the gangster that's still living with his mom but has this amazing car somehow.
Yeah.
I didn't love it. I didn't think they looked very Star Wars, but I could let it. I could, you know what it reminded me of? Actually, the prequels, like some of the stuff we saw in Coruscant, like the '50s diner and stuff. So while it might not be my favorite type of Star Wars, we have seen this in Star Wars before. I could get over that, but the low speed chase through town of just like, oh, we're trying to get him, we're gonna, and then fruit fell on him. It's like it was like, really,
Yeah, it's the most not Star Wars thing we've seen is those speeders. Like that takes me out of Star Wars, which
it
I don't
actually
like.
it reminded me of Back to the Future too, but not
Yeah,
in a good way.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like those goons. But another segue, um, the one thing I do like about that gang is that Natalie from Yellow Jackets is in it, and
That was
I
amazing.
watched both in the same
Same,
week.
same, yeah, yeah, that
I
was really
think we
cool.
mentioned it on another show. Yellow Jackets is great. If you need to do the
Mhm.
trial for Showtime, do it. Binge all
The
10
whole first
episodes
season's
because
out. It's like what, 8 episodes? You can just
10.
blast through it. Yeah.
I thought it was 8. So when we got to 8 and then they're like, no more episodes, we're like, but it's not done. What does this mean? And then we found out that it was
Oh,
still
is
going
it
on.
9? So it's 9?
No, 10.
Oh, it's 10. Okay. I didn't, I'm caught up. I finished it. I didn't remember how many episodes there were.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Two
So
weeks
that,
ago, we caught up for the first 8, thinking there
gotcha.
were only
Okay.
8.
Well, the season is done now. So anybody that wants to do the trial could watch the whole season. And I recommend it strongly. But
And
if you like suspense horror type stuff,
yeah,
it's
it's
not,
it's definitely adult.
yes. Yes.
It's very cool. Season 2 has been confirmed. Supposedly there's a plan for up to like 5 seasons. I think somebody said in an interview. So
That was their rough estimate. And what they've said is don't hold us to that if it's 4 or 6 or whatever, but we had to tell them how long we think we can go for. And that's roughly what they think their idea is how it will play out. But they
yeah,
did say like, but don't hold us to that. So
yeah, more than
um,
2 though.
more. Oh yeah, certainly more than 2. Well, ratings pending, but the ratings are doing well now, so that's fine.
Yeah,
Um, Going back to Book of Boba Fett and talking about
yep,
toys,
yep.
what we both collect Black Series. I don't know. Well, I think I always collected 375, and then I got into Black Series. And I think you have some 375, but you've always been more of a Black Series guy.
Yep.
I am almost done with 375. I'm going to keep the collection I have, but new figures are coming out that I'm like, theoretically, I would want that, but I want the Black Series one more. Do I really need to double up? And so, like,
Yeah,
I'm cherry picking a couple, mostly Luke Skywalker, because for those that know, he's like my favorite. So, like,
yeah,
I buy just basically every Luke figure that comes out. That's a whole secondary collection. But
yeah,
other than Luke and maybe like a random droid or something, I'm not buying. Like I got the Mandalorian, and then I got the Beskar Mandalorian in 375, and then I just stopped. I'm like, I didn't even able to open them. They're just sitting in a box, you know. So I'm like, well, I don't even. That being said, Black Series, uh, Book of Boba Fett figures. What are you thinking of getting in that zone?
the Wookiee.
Has he been announced?
No, but he will.
Okay, yeah, I would like the Wookiee. I want the modern Boba Fett, not the Tusken Raider Boba Fett,
Yes, I am
but
with you.
yeah, but the black suit underneath. Like he looks better than he did in Mandalorian. Like they changed. I think he had like kind of still had the Darth Maul Tusken Raider kind of like pants, but they gave him just black pants with a little cape. Dig it. I want that
Yep,
version of him. I want Fennec
yep.
Shan, and the Wookiee when he comes out. I don't remember who else.
I don't want the Gamorrean Guard updates.
No, they don't look as good as the other Gamorrean guards. I don't need them. None of them. That was weird. There's the 2 main ones. And I'm like, okay, this is like his. But even in the flashbacks, when they showed a bunch of them, none of them looked like the Gamorrean guards from Return of the Jedi. And I don't know if it's supposed to be some kind of commentary like they were bigger because Jabba was more prosperous and now they're getting skinny. It just, they all looked skinnier and they all looked less like armored up. Like, because the Gamorreans, you got the impression they were muscular, but also fat. And then
Yeah,
they had like plates of armor and fur, and you didn't like see anything here. And yeah, I don't hate these ones, but I feel like it's a thing where like we should see all different body types. Where are the ones we saw in Return of the Jedi?
I think they were going for a look that just didn't stick. I think they were looking for a more just like bare bones to go with the theme Gamorrean
Right.
guards, and instead we're all like, there's something off here, and it's what you said. The little bit of fur and the little plate is all we needed to not
Yeah.
go, that looks odd.
Yeah. And they did introduce this look, I think, in Mandalorian when they were in like a fighting ring or something, which
Yeah.
didn't bother me as much then because they weren't like Jabba's guards, you know.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
exactly.
these are the same dudes, right? Like, um, but yeah,
Oh, speaking of toy stuff,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
do you think that the Kickstarter or HasLab that failed of the Rancor should have been tied to this episode?
Maybe, but then they would have had to make it have alternate headpiece with the ring or something to make it so it could be this specific Rancor as opposed to the original one.
I think they needed to time it because like some people wanted it. There was a lot of hesitation, and I
Yeah,
think
it
people
would have
seeing
helped.
it would have gone, "Yup."
It would have helped. I think they would have been smart to have alternative pieces, even if it was a stretch goal that you could like swap out a head or something and make it look like this one. Because he's a baby now, but you know he's going to get bigger.
Yeah,
I am someone who I love monsters and kaiju stuff and I love Star Wars, so a Rancor is a no brainer for me. I just thought it cost too much money.
yeah,
And
it
it
did.
cost too much money right after I bought a Sentinel while other stuff was going on. It was just a bunch of projects coming out around the holidays, and I didn't like any of the stretch goals. They were all terrible. So like,
Yep.
and so it's like, yeah, and yeah. So I think I was their target demographic, and they just didn't do enough for the money they were asking, and the timing was terrible. If nothing had come out for 6 months and it was just in the middle of the summer or something, maybe I could have convinced to plunk the money down and hope that the stretch goals were good eventually. But like, yeah, I this episode would not have changed my mind. Put it that way. I think it might have
Do you
changed some people's mind, but not
do you
mine.
think if they moved it from January to like end of February, with this show being out during that time, do you think that would have made it actually pop
I
off?
think it would have helped a lot. Not for me specifically, but I think for other people, it might have. Yeah, it might have.
Because I don't remember how far they were from it, but they were close enough where like they
They
just needed the
weren't.
right
If they were
push.
close enough, they could have just pushed it over the edge themselves. You know what I mean? It wasn't that close. But also keep in mind, in addition to being during the holiday season, the Sky Striker for GI Joe was out. There was a Transformers one that either just wrapped or was going at the same time. The Proton Pack for Ghostbusters, all stuff which has a huge overlap.
Yeah.
You know, there are tons of Transformers collectors that also collect GI Joe and Star Wars. Like it was madness to have all those out at once at the holiday season during a time of year during also in this climate where people like are losing their jobs and stuff. It was really weird. It was really weird.
Yeah, because the Transformers one was Star Saber, right?
It was Star Saber, yeah. And I
Which
didn't
both
back
of us, yeah,
I didn't back any of them. Star Saber, I was kind of tempted by, but I don't have any personal connection to that character. And so if I was going to back any of them, it would have been the Rancor. And honestly, like I said, I was holding out because I didn't think it was worth the money. And I like people go back and forth on like right, wrong, and who's angry, or whatever. Forgetting about any of that, like I literally was like, that's too much money. Let me see what the stretch goals are. If I assume I get all of the stretch goals, is that worth it to me? And you don't guarantee get that. And when I looked, I'm like, no. Like the first couple, I did not care. The only one I cared about even a little bit was Luke Skywalker because I'm a Luke fanboy. But it was a Jedi Luke 6-inch that I have, and I guess this one could be a little bit better. And that was the last one. If it was the first one, they maybe could have got me, but like it was a repack Gamorrean guard, which I have two of, and like, you know, just yeah, I was the one that they needed to win over with the stretch goals, and they didn't even get
yeah. They didn't have the Tamer, which everybody was like, "You guys are idiots."
yeah, and then they threw him in at the end. They're like, "Oh, now you get him," but it was sort of like, yeah,
It was a bad render that they came up with because of the criticism.
yeah, and that's just like, why would that not be? Yeah, that's weird, you know. And I know there's potential like weird political stuff about the dancer because everyone wanted the dancer too. Fine, I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, the Rancor Keeper should have either come with it or been stretch goal number one. That's just bizarre, and I don't know. It bums me out because I want the Rancor, and I'm hoping because we know that the design and the tooling and all that stuff is done that it'll come back in a different way, or they'll just release it, or you know, because I would like to get one, but
The,
yeah, the Mandalorian would not have convinced me to get one. Is the answer to your question from 10 minutes ago?
the two properties that they haven't done a HasLab for yet that they own are Power Rangers and I think Magic. And if you count My Little Pony, then that's the honorary third.
There's definitely more than that. I can't think of them right now, but
They
I guess
they
I guess
did they
I
did
guess GI
Sesame
Joe.
Street. It
They did. I
it
guess GI Joe 6-inch, which I mean they did the GI Joe 375. They didn't do the 6-inch yet.
just property to property though.
Yeah, I'm looking at Marvel Legends, Power Rangers, Transformers. Yeah, I feel like we're forgetting something, but I mean you're hitting the big ones for sure. This Friday is going to be a big GI Joe fan first thing. I'm interested because they have announced a lot of GI Joe stuff recently, and I'm like, wow, it's stuff that isn't coming out for a long time. So I'm like, what more do they have to announce? I assume it's going to have something to do with repacks and repaints and or 375 stuff because they're trying to push the GI Joe 375. And it's funny because like Star Wars, I was hardcore 375 from back in the 80s. I had them as a kid. And then when they did the anniversary stuff, I was getting them. And then they kind of trickled out, got hard to get, got expensive. And then now they have two different lines of 6-inch figures that I'm invested in. And so like, let's do 375. I'm like, I don't care. I don't need these, but if it was a couple of years ago, I would have been like, yeah, but it's like, why are you releasing this? You got us all on board the 6-inch train. And now you're like, let's go back. No.
Because you said you're currently doing both 1/12, I should say, because it's 6 and 7-inch, right?
Well, the classified series, I guess the 6 inches, and the Super 7 ones are 7 inches. And basically, I started getting, it's a mess. Let me see if I can turn this, if you can see. Okay, yeah. If you look right there, that's all my G.I. Joe classified figures.
Yeah.
You notice only 2 of them are out of the box. One of those is Sergeant Slaughter, but he's a wrestling figure. He just matches. I don't collect wrestling figures. I got him because he's from G.I. Joe. Snake Eyes was from the first wave. Like, I didn't like the design like a lot of people because it didn't look like the figures, didn't look like the cartoon. It was this weird new version that was associated with nothing except for Snake Eyes looked close enough. So I got Snake Eyes and I opened him up. Then later there was an exclusive Storm Shadow through Amazon that kind of looked like the third version of Storm Shadow. So I got him and I opened up. And my plan was to have just Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow done. But they started looking better and they got on sale and blah, 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 and then they were hard to get. And then I had FOMO. And so I basically collected most of them. There's a few I don't have that I don't care about. And I've not opened any of them because I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to keep them. I might sell the whole collection. So I'm leaving it sealed because after I bought a bunch of these and caved, Super 7 was like, hey, here is the animated version, which is what I would have wanted to begin with, in 7-inch scale. And I pre-ordered the first 2 waves, which that's a whole other thing. I like Super 7. I like a lot about Super 7. What I don't like is that they keep making me pre-order wave 2 when wave 1 hasn't gotten here yet. I don't like it. But I pre-ordered the first 2 waves because unlike classified, where like, okay, maybe it'll get reprinted or it'll come around next week, I'll find it at Target. Like, you have to pre-order them and they may never reprint it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm just going to get these. And so now I'm going to get boxes of those and have 2 collections in the box and decide which of these do I want to keep and which do I want to sell? Or am I going to be a maniac and collect both of them? But what I'm not going to do is get more 375. Just like Star Wars, I'm not going to get rid of all the ones I have necessarily, but I'm not buying any more. That's no way are they getting me in on that again.
I think we use Dan Larson from Toy Galaxy, shout out to them, as the person who, like, everything is geared toward him. Where I think if you were into third-party 375, you would still be into both, which is what he is, which is why I use him as an example.
They have third-party 375. Oh, you mean like the vintage style G.I. Joes where people are customizing like...
What I mean is just 375 figures from companies that it's their own thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I used to be the person that would buy any figure that looked cool, but my collection has gotten so big that in addition to trying to spend less money, space. So I've tried to narrow it down to like, do I actually love this character? Do I remember this as a kid? Is this part of another collection? So that I have these orphan figures where it's like, oh, this is like a cool robot guy. Where does he go? I don't know. He's going to sit in a box. So I've tried to stop myself from buying those figures for that exact. When I see guys like Dan Larson from Toy Galaxy and Robo from the Fwoosh and stuff like that, and they seem to buy everything, and they make the same jokes we all do, like, I shouldn't buy this. I don't need this. Blah, blah. But they buy them. Where are they going? Do they just have Tupperware bins? Because they don't have, as far as I know, they don't have mansions that are just rooms and rooms of toys. Like Robo showed part of his collection one time, and it was mostly his Star Wars and Legends, and it was packed. It was like it was an okay display, but it was packed.
Yeah,
and it was most of a room, and I'm like, okay, but these are 2 collections out of the many he collects. where's the rest? And I'm not saying that in a judgmental way, but it's just like,
I,
where do you put these toys and
so I
why?
think those two examples, I
Yeah.
think Dan Larson, I think, does a rotation system
Mm-hmm.
and just has stuff in bins like all the time,
Yeah.
and is live with that and is cool with that because he pulls them out whenever. Robo, I think, doesn't bring up how many things he gets rid of.
Okay. So you think he gets them and then gets rid of them?
Like, for example, he has a video where he just reviewed the 3-0 Bumblebee.
Mm-hmm.
If he like, I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't keep that in his Transformers display and then just gets rid of it.
Well, if they're getting them as a free sample or buying it just so they could do a review or somebody loans it to them, I get that. But they both definitely talk about toys they get and there's no video reviewing it. That's what I'm talking about. Because a review, I've gotten reviews, you've gotten review samples that, pardon me, that it's like, well, I don't need to keep this. I got it. I made the review. But they're talking about toys like Robo talks about his big wrestling collection, for example. Like
That you've
that's
never
clearly
seen.
right. He clearly has a big wrestling collection. I don't know, like so. And again, I'm not. It's less about judging them and more like how do they do it? Because
It's more curiosity. Like, tell me what the secret is. I would like
yeah,
to
I
know.
like your buddy Bobby Skullface who does Transformers.
Shout out.
He's mostly Transformers, but he's got some Star Wars. I don't. Does he have more? He got rid of his Star Wars?
No. So he the way he does his stuff, he's very involved in his Patreon, and he has different levels of it. And I've been very tempted multiple times to actually subscribe
I
because
can't
he's
believe
like,
you're not. We love him so much.
I know. But like the tier I would want would be like, do I want this or do I want Netflix? Is like kind of
Yeah,
where it's
yeah, yeah.
at. Um, and everything that isn't Transformers, actually it used to be whatever wasn't Transformers and Star Wars was on his Patreon, and then
Mhm.
now it's pretty much whatever isn't import Star Wars or Transformers / third party is on Patreon, and he collects Storm Collectibles fighting game figures. He collects
Does he have
Marvel
them all on display
Legends.
nicely? Because I know,
Yes,
okay, because I know his well, and actually, my not that it looks like it, but my display is heavily influenced by his Star Wars display. When
yeah,
I saw the way he did it, like the box of lights I have, I don't know if you can even see them here. I have a
I can
box of
see
lights.
some. Yeah,
Those are the lights he uses. That whole
yeah.
setup, like the only difference is he does like little diodes and stuff. But like even the way he pushed anyway, he has a video where he's like, "Here's how you do it." I'm like, "Yep, that's how I'm gonna do it."
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. Like, yeah. And so if he's got the room and he's setting them up, great. But he also, from what I understand, though, isn't collecting as much as these other guys, even with what you just said.
So he's gotten to the point where, at least in most of his collections, it seems he's like, okay, I want to get a masterpiece representation of every G1 character,
I can respect that.
and now he's like, unless they make a new one or I feel the need to upgrade, I am not getting as much anymore because I did it in 5 years or whatever the timeline
Right.
is. And then same with like Legends. He says he gets a lot of that stuff, and especially SH Figure Arts and Mafex and all that, where he's a huge DC fan, which is why like you just don't see any of his DC stuff unless he's like, here's my DC tour. And also he's gotten into quarter scale statues,
I was
which
gonna
is a
say statue seems to be like the last stop for collectors.
yeah, and that's kind of his thing where like he has a like $2,000 Grimlock and Wheelie statue that he like loves more than anything, and he's like, all in all, like that is one of my like favorite pieces now. So he's like, and he does videos too where he talks about like how does
It's
the escalation happen.
oh, I understand how escalation happens.
Yeah,
But even that being said, even if I had $2,000 that I was able and willing to spend on a statue, then the question would be, would I rather have this one statue or like 20 masterpiece figures or like 30 chugs or like what else could I get with this money, even if it's frivolous stuff.
yeah, and that's his philosophy though, is he's like, I want the best of blank.
Right.
And he's like, I feel like I have the best Optimus I can have, and that is my Optimus. And if a new one comes out and beats it, great. I'll get rid of the old
Right.
one. But
I
like
think I
he's
think that's
better about
that's
that.
totally fair if you have the money to do that. That makes sense. But I think best is also subjective because as going with Transformers, they do this to everyone. But I'm one of the people where I'm like, oh, there's a lot of like they brought a lot of G1 characters back like 5 or 6 years ago. Oh, but like they're not quite right, but this is the closest we've seen. And like, oh, they redid them again. Now these are even better. Oh, then 2 years later they redid it, and they keep making them closer and better. And I, like an idiot, and like everyone else, keeps rebuying them. and sometimes it's an easy swap. Like, oh man, get rid of that one. This one's better. But sometimes it's like, ooh, this one's better for this reason. This one's better for this
This one
reason.
combines.
Yeah. And where was I going with this? But that being said, as my G1 Transformers character collection, not vintage, gets better and better and more full, I look at my small masterpiece collection. I'm looking it over there so I can look at it. And I'm like, do I even want these anymore? Because some of them I feel like I can let go very easily. Some of them, like, oh, I really think this is a great figure, but I've got like 8 or 10 of them. And I have representations of all of those characters now, which I previously didn't, is the other thing, with a masterpiece or nothing. So it's like, even though, yes, that is objectively better, I have a collection of 100 that go together. Am I going to get 90 more to match the 10
Exactly.
when they cost
Yeah.
$100 each? What?
No, you're saying the exact same thing. You're just the different side of his coin.
Yes. And but it's tough because, again, looking at my masterpiece shelf, I'm like, I can easily get rid of half of them with, like, okay, sure, but then the other half, I'm like,
Yeah, I'm in a weird spot. Transformers, I think in between both of you, but like recently, Gaz and I are in multiple groups on Facebook, and there's a guy who lately has been posting the
selling his stuff for cheap.
no,
Oh,
the Mafex comic figures, and he'll do them in poses. It's on Fanciers.
okay.
Uh,
Yeah. Mike was a person.
yeah, this guy named Mike.
Yeah.
And shout out if you're watching, Mike.
Yeah.
But like every time he does that, I'm like,
Yeah.
is that what I need? Like, do I need to just get rid of those and just have that one now?
Yeah. Legends, I've gotten 2 Mafex for Legend scale, and one I opened and he's good, and the other I haven't gotten around to opening yet. And I feel like the jump in quality doesn't match the jump in price, if that makes sense. And I don't think I'll be getting another one. Well, I don't plan on getting another one. There might be one that I'm like, oh, that's my favorite character, and like, but I'm not. It's not like, yeah. When the Star Wars figures I've gotten, I feel like the jump in quality is worth it from the Black Series, but the superhero ones, I think the Legends are just doing such a good job that it's not much different.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. For Legends, I mostly agree with you there.
Yeah.
But with DC, it's
I don't care about DC.
Well, that's the thing. I do. And like for me, that's been my hardest struggle because all the scales are different.
Yeah.
And there's so many different options where it's like you can't have a definitive DC collection like you can have a Marvel collection.
I think I will go ahead and agree that if you're going to do DC, you should probably do Mafex. Because that is a bitter and just to be clear, I don't hate DC. When I said I don't care about DC, Flash is one of my favorite superheroes, but I don't collect DC for whatever reason. I have like 3 or 4 DC figures. One of them is the Flash, and that's it. But Marvel, I've got a big Marvel collection.
Yeah, I think it's. Yeah. Oh, you first.
Well, that being said, my Marvel Legends has tapered way off. Like, I'm still buying, but now it's like, oh, they announced 20 figures. I want one, and maybe I'll get 3 others. Same. And that feels good because for a while I was like, I need every figure in this wave, and like,
yeah, I think it's a thing. Like, I think it leans slightly more to DC as a whole than you, but like for both of us, it's like I love Green Lantern,
right?
And then like my 2, 3, 4, and 5 would probably be Marvel characters, and then it's like, and then Nightwing and Superboy, and like the ratio is like I love Marvel and I love these DC characters, but you can't have like, I mean you could, but like having a shelf of like Kyle Rayner and then Blue Beetle and then Booster Gold and Lobo is just kind of weird. So
yeah, and that is the exact shelf I'd have for DC. Not
I
those
know
characters, but it'd be just weird esoteric. And half the characters I'd want don't even have a good like. Is there a good Animal Man figure? Probably not.
Yes,
yeah,
there is.
Is there? Okay, well,
yeah, it's a DC Universe Classics, and there's like one of them, and it's like $40 because it's that one.
There you go.
No, that's the thing. Back to the other point. That is 6-inch scale.
Okay, so McFarlane is Todd McFarlane and McFarlane Toys. People are excited about the new line, and I think people jumping in are excited. But I always thought, like, he's making them 7 inches. Isn't that going to make everybody mad? And all the old collectors probably are mad because, like,
I'm happy and mad. Like, on the one hand, like, for example, I love that he already put out almost all of the Dark Knights, which are the like evil Justice League Batman. And I'm like, that's cool. We would have never got this any other way. And then it's like, okay, we have 90 Batman, and like two of them I think are cool.
Right. I
And
have heard a
like,
lot of people complain all he does is Batman.
yeah, well, that's yeah. But on the same vein, it's like a lot of these molds are really difficult to like reuse
Mhm.
unless it's like a Batman, or it's like here's an artist proof variant. Here's one with blood on it. And like I get it, but
And
like
if
I
people are
also get
buying
people
them,
mad.
like they're not going to keep doing it if people aren't buying them. So,
Yeah.
I'm that doesn't bother, and that doesn't bother me at all because I don't. Well, I'm not collecting DC, but even if it was Marvel or Star Wars or something like, I don't need that. I don't care. I'm not. If other people want it, great. But I'm not tracking that down.
Back on Marvel
I,
Legends, have you
I am
noticed
going to have to go soon. So just
okay.
yeah.
Speaking of Marvel Legends, do you think it's just us or the last like 6 Build-A-Figures were just highly underwhelming?
I mean, I don't know if it's just us, but I can't remember the last Build-A-Figure I was excited to actually build.
Tri-Sentinel was mine, but he's small.
Yeah, I didn't care about him. There's been a few like the bear one. What was the bear one that just came out?
Ursa Major.
Ursa Major. I don't know much about that character. It's a cool monster figure, and if it was just a single pack, maybe I'd get it. But to have to buy a whole wave of figures that I wasn't that interested in, no. But previously, I have done that for certain Build-A-Figures where I'm like, well, I guess I got to get all these, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's just us or not, but I certainly, and I don't mind it because again, I bought so many Marvel Legends. I'm happy to have been slowing down.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm really annoyed I can't get my hands on a Quasar. I don't know where they are, but I mean that's an example of like a weird character that I specifically want, and like
Yeah.
yeah,
If there's an exclusive to a place that starts with W, it stresses out everybody involved, including the two of us.
yeah. I want Quasar and I want In Space Silver, two space heroes that Walgreens has that I don't see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have confidence you'll get him eventually. Will you pay $30 for him?
I would
Yes.
pay
Will you
30.
be happy about it? No.
No,
But
but
once
he
you
is
have
yeah.
him, yeah.
Yeah, that is a character I'd pay 30 and 40. I am very excited about Sleepwalker. That's another one that is like I didn't think
So
they'd ever made.
random.
Well,
Oh, did
random that I
you
want him or random that they're making him.
that they're making him? Did you see? I sent it to you, but I didn't dig into it too much. Supposedly this week there were leaks of the next Spider-Man wave.
I saw you sent me that link when I was sending you the link for the recording. So I was like, oh, what's that? I don't have time to look at it. So that was yeah.
So this is good for both of us for a story we're not getting into today. But
Good.
Japanese Spider-Man is supposed to be in that wave.
We'll see. I mean, that's good because I wanted the figure arts and didn't get it, and you too. So yeah. I hope that, and if the Build-A-Figure is Leopardon, I always mess with it. That would be amazing, and that would be a wave that. Well, I guess I'm buying the whole wave,
Exactly.
But yeah, we got to wrap this up. But yeah, for those watching, if you watch Action Activate or you watch my art vlogs or however you ended up here, this is us just rambling. If this is interesting, I feel like there's plenty of videos of two guys just talking about pop culture. So I don't know why this would be particularly interesting, but if it is, let us know. If you're like, I found it interesting when you talk about toys, but I hated when you talked about Boba Fett. Like, let us know that too. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to do that, but this is what our conversation would be anyway.
Yeah.
If it's worth recording and putting up, great. Let us know.
Exactly. That's what we're asking. We're going to talk about this regardless, so our feelings won't be hurt. If you also want to be involved, let us know, and we'll hit record when we do it.
Yeah. It also crossed my mind, not this time, but we could make this live. And then if people wanted to jump on and join the conversation, because it's with the reviews, it's like very formulaic, and we don't want to we want it to have longevity in the future. Like if you want to watch a review, but everything we're talking about will be meaningless in a few weeks, a month, whatever. So we could do them live if people.
Yeah, I mean, getting back on Twitch again would be fun. Dusting that off at some point, but we'll plan ahead.
Whenever we do live, it goes to Twitch.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
anyway, this has been us. It was an Action Activate, and
yeah, toodles.
I want to end with some kind of thing, but everything I have is here. How about this? Can you hear that?
No, I can't hear a thing. Now I can.
There's background music now. I never noticed this before. That's weird. Okay. I love you.